Hey friends, I'll begin this video by saying that my boy BK, better known as Brian Kelly, formerly of Florida Georgia Line, who has a solo career now for about the past 4 years and my favorite country singer. But BK has a song called Highway on the Water. And when I pan around in a minute and you see the rooster tail, the boat's kicking out, and it looks like a highway behind the boat. Of course, there's also a highway in front of the boat. But that song right there, you can get a taste of it. I mean, it looks like a highway on the water. That song resonates with Melissa and I, and just love living that life. And there's a highway on the water there. So set the stage. We left Harker's Island here. That's Harker's to your right, and we're going, I guess, south toward the bridge there at the beginning of the island. We're kind of farther down north or east, whichever direction you want to call it, kind of northeast. But this is a winter day in early January. Had a beautiful, about 60-degree temperature. We didn't have on our waders because the water temperature is really cold, and we had to beach the boat. And of course, I got wet. You can see Melissa there bundled up with her waders underneath her sweatshirt, and she might have her gloves on and probably her toboggan underneath her hoodie. But anyway, it's that boating, beach, water lifestyle. It's that highway on the water that we just love and embrace. So just kind of set the stage for the day. Kind of chilly outside. It's really cold in the boat. And I don't know that you can have too many clothes on, even when it's 60 degrees in January, with that wind blowing there. So we are heading from Harker's over to Shackelford Banks. Big surprise, huh? More specifically, again, what I call the southern tip, even over more south of where the Beaufort Ferry drops people off. And we'll pass that here in a couple of minutes after we make the turn, past some channel markers and so forth. But this was a shelling day, of course. Most of our boat days, the goal is shelling. And so didn't get a lot of videos of the shells, but this is more kind of a scenic deal. And again, just reiterating our love for that highway on the water, that boat life, that salt life, that beach life, that shell life. And man, when that's in your blood, I think it's impossible to get out. This is Shackelford Banks, and again, we're heading down toward the actually, it's kind of the Atlantic beach side. You get far enough down on Shackelford, I mean, you can literally see Fort Macon, the state park there, just maybe a quarter mile across the channel where the ocean pours in there. But once this lifestyle hits you, and it's interesting. I grew up on Lake Norman, which is outside of Charlotte, and I've been a water dog since I could walk. I started swimming at not quite 2 years old. Dad picked me up one day in my life jacket. In the lake we went, and I just never came out. And so for the next 16, 17 years, my life evolved around Lake Norman and boating and skiing and tubing and swimming and swim teams and just all that stuff. Melissa's lifestyle was kind of different. She's been more recently turned on to the ocean and just the fact that God should have made her to be a mermaid, because that's exactly what she is. So we're tooling along now. Again, Shackelford's on your left, and we are making our way down to where we're going to beach the boat and let her jump off. I went with her for a while to collect some shells. We got some really cool video later on in the video, if you want to stick around, of her deep diving in the rocks at the jetty. And what she loves to do there is just dig the big conch shells that have wedged their way in to the jetty there, to the rocks there. Most people don't know about it. A few of the regulars are aware of it. But she just loves to get down in the rocks and just she takes a spade, she's got a chisel, she's got all kind of tools that you would usually use like for gardening and machinery, and digs these shells out of the rocks there. So really cool. I'm constantly concerned about her safety. I'm constantly telling her that, you need to be careful. The moss that grows on the rocks can be extremely slippery, especially the wader bottoms, the feet of the waders. It's just a rubber pullover. It's a boot there. They do have some pretty good ridges on them, but it can still be dangerous. So I'm constantly, being mother hen, checking on her, making sure she's not going to slip and fall. I mean, it's, rocks, anything with rocks can be really, really dangerous, and especially when you have incoming tides splashing over those can be really dangerous as well. So I'm going to be quiet for a couple of seconds and let you just enjoy the boat ride. So you can see now we have hit Shackleford Banks. We've got the boat beached over behind us, and out of the boat, see Melissa in her waders there and the boots I was talking about earlier, and she's found a piece of what looks like a conch shell that's been laid out in the mud. Pretty serious rack line there. Usually wrapped that far back around, you don't see a rack line like that. The ocean empties into this area, dumps into this area over to your left. I'll turn the video off before I get there, but you'll get shots of that later. So this is really, there's not really a lot of stuff generally found in this area. I am going to find an incredible Florida fighting conch in just a minute, which is not completely rare to this area. You do find them, nothing like in the state of Florida. So again, that's upcoming when I find that. I don't show a live scene of me pulling it out of the water, but it was kind of buried. But I do show that upcoming. So a little bit up as you make that turn there to your left, then you're really getting into what we call kind of the honey hole, where you find all the big shells. And generally speaking, you have to get out in the water, sometimes, knee deep, sometimes waist deep. That's why we wear the waders, to really pull out the big shells. But again, with the ocean bringing them in up there to the top of the screen, they generally don't make their way around this far. That's a big broken, probably a knob whelk or a channel whelk there. There's hundreds and hundreds of those. A lot of people get in the water, throw them up on the surf for people who've never seen shells that large. And we have hundreds and hundreds of perfect ones. So we leave those there for other people that don't live in the area and don't get to experience that all the time. So we're still tooling along here, getting over to the spot that we really came here for her to be and for her to find all the best shells. Interestingly, after this video was made and before I had time to edit it and so forth, there's the fighting conch. That's beautiful. That is the Florida State shell. That is my personal favorite shell. Absolutely gorgeous. It's got all its knobs. The coloration on the shell is just, it's perfect. And when she cleaned it up with some acid magic and then some mineral oil, she was absolutely gorgeous. So I was talking about this earlier. I've got a couple of shots here, and you can see the number one, the tide's beginning to come in. Number two, you can see all of the green algae that is built up on the rocks. It's very slippery there. I'm quite a bit above her there. But this is her favorite thing to do. Melissa can get in these rocks and dig for shells for hours upon hours upon hours. And it's just kind of not my thing. I just don't like, number one, I can't sit still. So I don't like staying in one place. And it's also funny, she'll come back in from a day of doing this and her fingers are torn all to pieces. Her nails are all jacked up. Her cuticles are all messed up. And she'll let them heal for 4 or 5 days and back at it she goes again. So anytime we go to this area, this is her destination to head over to the jetty. This is the ocean side of the jetty. Of course, you can see the ocean coming in there. And you also, the video does not give you an appreciation of how strong those waves are coming in. If she's down a little bit deeper, those waves can absolutely take you off your feet. That's where my concern with her being on the rocks is, because you just never know. Combination of slipping and the force of the ocean there can be a dangerous combination. So, But I'm a little bit of a worry wart, a little bit overprotective there. Pretty cool. You can see the flat surfaces of the huge cement pieces that have been brought in by man. I guess most all this has been brought in by man, but I like standing up there and videoing. And here, I wanted to kind of draw attention to this, and kind of in the next segment as well. You know, I just kind of stopped for a minute and just panning out through the ocean and just thinking to myself how blessed I absolutely am. And, you know, I put a Facebook post out a couple of days later, and it kind of said, you know, we all need to stop more and just count our blessings and just you know, bask in how great God is and how blessed our lives are. Even if we have, you know, we all go through things. We all have situations with money and finances. There are relationship struggles. I'm happy to say that I don't have any of that, at least not in my marriage. Praise and thanksgiving to God for that. But, you know, we all have struggles, jobs, careers, owning businesses, you know, stress, health, getting older. I mean, all the things, you know, y'all, that we all do face. But, you know, if we stop and count our blessings, I know that Melissa and I are just truly so very blessed, and more than blessed to be able to, for the most part, live the lifestyle that we have planned for and wanted to live for years. You know, we've been in and around the Myrtle Beach area for over 20 years, and more recently Melissa, but it's different here. It's different on the shores of North Carolina here in the southern Outer Banks. The people are different. Nothing against the people in Myrtle Beach, but Myrtle Beach is just more of a melting pot of folks. But this area here, it's most of the people are from here. We're native North Carolinians, so we just fit right in. It's a Mayberry. You know, Harkers has about 1,000 full-time residents on the island. Excuse me, if anybody from Harkers Island is listening, excuse me for saying Harkers. It is Harkers Island, which I was corrected on that a number of times when we first found Harkers Island. So if you're a native of Harkers Island, you know to tell people that it's not Harkers or it's not the island, it is Harkers Island. But it's a different place. Life is slower. The people are different. And much of life evolves around what you see us doing. Maybe not so much the seashelling piece, because there's a lot of fishermen around here. But it's just a different vibe. Life's just slower. I compare life here to life in Myrtle Beach, where our business is, and it is insanely different. Absolutely just night and day. So that's why we love the area so much. We only found Harkers Island back in April of 25. I thought I knew everywhere about North Carolina. I thought I'd been everywhere and been through everywhere, and the same thing with South Carolina. But we never knew Harkers Island existed. So we were going through there, going back and forth to the ferry, and just started looking around. Hey, this is a pretty cool place. Next thing you know, we're buying a house there, and we're pretty much settling and kind of relocating our lives where we'll be home based, at least out of the area. So it's just wonderful. This is the Beaufort ferry coming in to pick up the people that are there. There are two ferries that run to Shackleford. Again, this is the Beaufort ferry. Once they pick up, they'll go straight back across the sound. The Beaufort trip is maybe 10 minutes, 12 minutes. And that ferry docks in downtown Beaufort there on the water. There's a little ticket kiosk there where you get your tickets. And then the Harkers Island ferry, which picks and drops people off at both Shackleford and Cape Lookout, is on the other side, straight to the left from here. However many miles the island is, I think it's somewhere between 5 to 8 miles. It's pretty long. But those two ferries run here. And even you can see here for an early January day, there were a lot of folks there on the island. That ferry was about full when it left. So those ferries run, to my understanding, unless there's inclement weather, such as high winds and so forth, those ferries run 365. Even on Thanksgiving and Christmas Day, I believe. And they've got Facebook pages you can follow. They have a lot of following. And especially for people who don't have boats, to be able to experience this, the ferries, that's your option. Hope everyone enjoyed this video. This was a lot of fun to make. And again, take time and stop and count your blessings. in the middle of our busy lives. Take care.